What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we're going to be breaking down Mel Kiper's brand new post-free agency 2025 NFL mock draft. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Below my face is my board. It is not predictive. These are just the players I love in the order that I love them. Feel free to go support me over on X as well, where I post all 22 clips that support my decisions below my face. Also, if you do want to support the show, the easiest way to do it is by being able to use code HAILMARY when you sign up for UnderDog Fantasy, because you get up to $1,000 in bonus cash, and then I end up getting $60, full transparency, but it's a brand that I love, that I support, and that you guys have been enjoying as well. So thank you guys for that. Also, new contract season coming in, so we can always use that little boost right before the end, if you guys know what I mean. I am on like 3 hours of sleep. I actually went on my first business trip today with my work. Had to wake up at like literally 3 in the morning for a 6 a.m. flight. But since I love y'all, I want to give you guys some content. I saw this one was posted, and so let's get into it. Starting out with the #1 overall pick. Gotta love Mel. I mean, some people don't. I do. I mean, he doesn't do everything perfectly, but who does? I mean, at the end of the day, this guy keeps it 100. He tells us exactly what he believes, and I respect that far more than somebody who's not willing to take those risks. So I respect the honesty, even if it doesn't end up having the outcome that I agree with. But at #1, we got the Titans going Cam Ward. Money talks a lot louder than mouths do and words do. So, looking at that Kevin Zeitler 1-year contract, it looks like they're trying to shore up an offensive line for whatever quarterback they're going to try to bring in. It makes a lot of sense for Cam Ward based on the available options on the market. Great move there nonetheless. Cam Ward has vaulted up noticeably. I'm debating boosting my quarterback value, and so like Cam Ward's overall grade, I do value positional value into all of these grades, but I mean, it's something that's always a work in progress, so I hope that you guys have that patience with me. Quarterback video should be out on Sunday. We have an insane mock draft that we're doing tomorrow that will be released on Saturday. And so I'm trying to find like the right time to release both of those videos. It's going to be fun juggling it, but the quarterback's graphics are ready to go, and so I hope you guys are excited for that. But you got the spoiler for the #1 quarterback. The Cleveland Browns then go Abdul Carter at #2. Again, money speaks very loudly, and I think that 1-year contracts, especially ones that are not necessarily overpriced, but like when they end up getting someone on a pretty solid deal like Joe Tryon, Shoyinka 4.5. It shows that it's a position that they're wanting to test out at the very, very minimum, but also a role that they could see and value on their defense, because they don't really have a Joe Tryon Shoyinka right now, and Abdul Carter with his speed profile is a little bit closer to Shoyinka than I think people want to admit, but it's not like the talent level, but we're talking about the role that he would play, and I do think the Browns are mitigating the potential risk of Abdul going at #1 in some crazy scenario, but Abdul is the right move there. Travis Hunter might be a longer-term better move because it's such a good edge class, and Travis Hunter really could be a short-term wide receiver, a long-term corner with the contracts that you have due, but we'll see what happens. I mean, Abdul Carter he won't be a bad pick. I definitely believe that. New York Giants go Shedeur Sanders at #3. It's either he's going #3 or going in the late first. It's just there's not really much in between there. The Giants are very desperate. I honestly could see the Giants in this case trying to trade back with the team that is trying to snipe Travis Hunter at this moment, and then maybe they could snag him there. Joe Shane's not one to reach just because he needs something. He likes to go after best player available, but I think the only way he could convince himself that this is the right move is if he ends up getting something else out of it. So watch out for the #3 pick being on the move, or if Shedeur really is going to slip to the late first, watch out for the Giants to be moving up into that range to pair up Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders. At #4, we got the Patriots going Travis Hunter. Again, I worry that the Patriots are going to be an interestingly tough position, but we'll see what happens with them nonetheless. Travis Hunter's a great pick if he does fall there. Jaguars go Mason Graham, and it kind of is the defensive interior needs an upgrade, but it's kind of the Braden Fisk of it all from Gladstone's tenure there in Los Angeles. And Mason Graham, pretty much a younger and better version from college. Will he end up being a better version of the NFL? That's something that is yet to be found out, but I'm not going to say it's a guarantee. But at #5, I have my doubts in terms of the day one impact because he is sub 300 pounds, but we'll see. We'll see. At number 6, we got the Raiders going Ashton Jeanty. I mean, it just feels like it's the right move. I don't know why, but a dark horse pick for the Jaguars could be Jeanty. Of course, then you look at Gladstone as well as Cohen. Both of them are part of organizations that have taken guys round 3 or later to be impacts at running back. So I could probably see it being a very, very, very low possibility, but they might end up seeing that is the best way to help out Trev. You never know. But regardless, this is an amazing move. I could see Ashton Jeanty going even higher than this. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens right there. Jeanty is a great player. He just needs to watch out for those fumbles. But at number 7, the Jets go Tyler Warren. I mean, if you end up, like, this is great to get your quarterback some help, 100%. And you look at where Aaron Glenn came from, tight end does matter to the Lions. And it is shown to be a very good relief option. So Tyler Warren could easily be this. And I think the tight end class got overblown in terms of the talent. But, you know, Tyler Warren is a very, very good player. I would say Membu would be great, but I do think Warren is still on the table. I really do think that the Saints re-signing Juwan Johnson indicates to me that teams are looking at Tyler Warren above him, and they're having to take that as a mitigation more than anything. And, I mean, I don't blame him. I mean, Tyler Warren's a great player. At number 8, you got the Panthers going Jalen Walker. It makes too much sense. They've ended up adding quite a few impact players, but, I mean, Walker is going to be an instant starting linebacker for him. He's not an every down edge. That's the thing. And people try to crap on Jalen Walker and say that he's just overrated. You know, the fact is, a lot of people who know far better than you and me about what they're talking about are having Jalen Walker in like their top 10, top 5 even. And Jalen Walker as a pure linebacker, and I've always been on the Jalen Walker linebacker train. You guys can end up going back and checking the tape. But Jalen Walker, to me, has always been a better linebacker than edge rusher. He's not really ever been given the chance to play edge full time. You don't draft someone like that at number 8 overall. But for the Panthers, with the role that Thompson is leaving, or the vacancy, Christian Roseboom is not going to fulfill it the way that Walker could. And so you're having somebody, and the Panthers have not, you've had a continuous stream of elite linebacker play, or at least a top tier linebacker on your team, whether that be Thompson, whether that would be Kuechly. Like, it's going to be weird if your defense does not have any sort of faith or any sort of talent at linebacker. So Jalen Walker, I do think, would be a big help there in Carolina. At number 9, the Saints go Jackson Dart. That is intriguing. I just don't see it with Jackson Dart. I'm going to spoil my quarterbacks video. He ended up boosting up, but I mean, to me, he is a fringe day 2 player. I'll put it as is. I mean, I feel like I'm talking about Desmond Ridder all over again. Not saying that's remotely the comp, but it just, when it comes to the draft hype versus what I see on tape, it feels so identical. And I could really see Jackson Dart slipping to the 3rd round. It really feels like this is a lot of agents. Like, the agent is doing such a good job. And, you know, only when Jackson Dart when he was not playing football is when his stock has been rising. So that's just going to be honest, that does sound a lot like agent manipulation. But, you know, Jackson Dart to the Saints is a good fit. At 9, I would not support it. Number 10, you got the Bears going Michael. Michael works great with Dennis Allen. And then he works really well with Dayo Odeyingbo as well in like a 2-man rotation right there. Austin Booker as well in that rotation overall. I do think that, you know, Ben Johnson's going to want this to be his first pick. But if they end up going defense, it makes sense because I'm sure Poles was like, all right, well, we're going to give the first pick to Dennis. We're going to give you pretty much as you want in free agency. And that's kind of what he did by retooling the offensive line. That's the only way I could see defense being the pick. Otherwise, I think Amari Hampton is going to be the pick there. At number 11, the Niners go Armand Membu. I think that's a fantastic option. Short-term guard, long-term right tackle. So I think that's going to be an instant fit and a great one nonetheless. Cowboys get the best running back in the class in Amari Hampton. He's just insane. He's such a good back, man. I mean, it is really, really close between Hampton and Jeanty. Like, I'll put it there. It's a 1-point gap. And the 1 point is literally due to that 9 fumbles over the past 2 years for him. While Amari Hampton, with an increased workload, has got better and better with his fumbles. So I'll just say that Amari Hampton's the best player that turns a negative into a positive. And I think that's going to be super valuable in the NFL. He's going to be a great back, man. And again, this is not to slander Ashton Jeanty in any way, shape, or form. It is solely to boost up and show how damn good Amari Hampton is. At number 13, the Dolphins go Will Campbell. So it's intriguing. I don't understand why they would go after Campbell to be the left tackle replacement when they just drafted one in the second round. Like I feel like when people draft offensive line, they forget about Patrick Paul. And again, we could disagree in terms of the vision for Patrick Paul. I don't see him as a long-term replacement at left tackle. So I understand that this could end up being the long-term left tackle replacement, but are they going to give up on him? I didn't see him like on Kingsley Suamataia level of ass. Like, I just got to be honest there. I don't think the organization would be on board with this. And I don't know, I know that most mocks at this point are a blend of what you would do and also what you're hearing. So I don't get it. I personally don't get that very much. And left guard is not something that is obviously super valuable. You're able to get it for $8 million a year with an absolute stud in James Daniels. I don't see you investing a first-round pick into it. Colts go Colston Loveland at 14. I've seen that there's like people who have Colston Loveland top 12 on their board apparently in the NFL. This is possible. I would just say a little bit underwhelming in terms of how he'd apply himself in the run game. I think he's underrated as a run blocker, but he's still not a starting caliber blocking level tight end. So that's a little bit worrisome right there. Obviously an elite receiver. At 15, the Falcons go Mike Green. And I mean, Jahad Campbell, Mike Green, you can't really go wrong with those two. Honestly, I think both would be excellent outside linebackers on the squad, edge rushers. But, Mike Green, I get it. It's speed to power. The guy he's probably the best in the class when it comes to, especially given his arm length as well, being able to get into the chest plate. He closes range extremely well. That's why he ended up surprising Josh Connerly and like decking his ass because, he closes ground very, very well. The problem is he does not have elite arm length, right? I'm pretty sure it's below 33 inches. And he also is still developing. He is kind of more of that guy who's just purely speed to power, has a spin move here and a spin move there. Obviously, you can talk about the off the field stuff. I'm going to breeze past that because it's one of those that feels a little bit less that we need to focus on it at this point. A, it's more widely known, but B, there's so much about it that does feel like you can't be convinced that, like, you can't be certain that something happened because it was like, a stalking case, an anonymous tip. Like, there's stuff in there where it's like, yeah, when you first hear, like when I first heard from my sources, it's like, yeah, this is sexual assault. I'm like, oh shit. But when you end up hearing the details, it's like, okay, like, I'm not obviously going to condone any sort of stalking, but the second time around why he had to leave University of Virginia being an anonymous tip, it's hard to gauge legitimacy of that. But the high school thing definitely happened. We'll see. I don't know all the details about that, but regardless, it doesn't seem to faze anybody. There's stuff with James Pierce Jr. that phases people. So, again, it's talking about someone being weird and kind of an asshole versus being legitimately a criminal, but just weird world that we live in, isn't it? But regardless, this is not to talk about that type of stuff. Mike Green, talent wise, I think he can end up being a really, really good edge rusher. I still have him much lower than everyone else. The potential's through the roof, and I ended up adding a potential grade. And I feel pretty happy with it. I ended up calculating, like, if I ended up sorting it by that potential grade, it sorts the players in the way that I would think that they should be. So I'm debating on, blending that into my current grade and seeing how that would affect my board. But TBD on that. Regardless, Mike Green has all the ceiling in the world. The question is, will the arm length come into a factor? Are these just college tackles that are not used to speed to power? At number 16, we got the Cardinals going Will Johnson. I think that's a fantastic move. Will Johnson's an excellent corner, and the Cardinals need someone who has size and who has physicality. So I'm a big fan of it. Like, I think this is the dream pick for the Cardinals at the moment. At number 17, you got the Bengals going Shamar Stewart. I don't really think this fits too well in my mind with Al Golden's defense. Like, I understand the idea of like, hey, if you're going to re-sign Hendrickson, you need to get cheap at that other edge rushing position. But I mean, physical phenom, awesome. There's been no track record of both the Bengals organization as well as Al Golden developing edge rushers, especially of Shedeur Stewart's build. If you're confident in that, do it with Myles Murphy. You have a first-round player on your team that is a solid athlete at a 270-plus pound frame. So for me, I just personally don't see that. And when you can end up going in round 2 for someone like JT Tuimoloau, like if you really wanted to go that route, you can. But when you end up having Nick Eamon-Worry and you also have Malachi Starks, and it's just like you also have like corner. I mean, if you ended up having Will Johnson, I'd say that's the best pick, but you also need guard, right? There's just so many positions I think that would be a little bit better because it's like you have a child and you're looking at babysitters and you're like, well, my child likes to climb shit and jump, right? So you're not going to hire the girl who just wants to do her homework while I mean, again, I don't have kids, but I mean, I'm trying to imagine. But it's like you don't want to hire the girl who's, doing her homework and like while the kids just do stuff in the background because your kid's going to end up climbing on shit and then jump off and hurt themselves, right? But that doesn't mean that she's not going to be a great babysitter for, the kids are just needing somebody to be there in case they light the house on fire. Like, that's the way I feel. If it doesn't mean that, the Bengals suck. It just means they're not going to work with Shedeur Stewart, or don't appear like they're going to work very well with Shedeur Stewart. And for Shamar's sake, and for our sake as fans, you want Shamar to go to the spot where he ends up being the best version of himself. At 18, the Seahawks getting Eamon-Worry is a dream. Chef's kiss. I mean, allowing a defensive coach in Mike Macdonald to be able to have I literally call him a demigod on my positional rankings. Just somebody who's built differently than pretty much anybody that we've really seen. Yeah, you had Obi Melifonwu, but Nick Eamon-Worry is far better than that player. Granted, I didn't study Obi Melifonwu in all 22, so I mean, maybe this will be a big learning lesson for me. But I'm gonna be honest, and if I'm wrong, I learn from my mistakes. If I'm gonna BS you guys just to play it safe, then both of us are going to have worse content over the years. So for those of y'all who stick around, I love you guys for it. But I do have a lot of confidence in Nick Eamon-Worry's success in the NFL, especially if he goes to Mike Macdonald. I would love that to death. At number 19, the Buccaneers go Jahad Campbell. And especially with the shoulder repair, I think this is perfect for him. I mean, obviously the talent is through the roof. The athleticism is through the roof. And letting Todd Bowles use Jahad Campbell as an edge rusher as well as a linebacker, again, another thing where you could just say chef's kiss. T-Mac goes to the Broncos at 20. There's a lot of people talking about him falling. He did end up not testing at 4.48, which people are continuing to talk about. That was the initial reading, but Dane Brugler, who's the most reliable on this, was talking about it in the 4.43 or 4.53 to 4.55 range, if I'm not mistaken. So again, not bad, but it's not in the 4.4s. But regardless, for the Broncos, I personally like Tet. I mean, I have Tet right there at 20 on my board. And that includes multiple guys who had season-ending injuries. If you guys see a plus, that's because I'm not going to regrade a player for injury unless like you have a legitimate background of injury, which then I'll like put that in there. But I don't know who they are right now, so I'm only going to give you the information of what I thought of them before. And so that's why I end up having guys like Ben Morrison, who is not even viewed as a first rounder at the moment, at number 3 overall. And that's okay. But regardless, Tetaroa is a great player. He does have probably the biggest bust factor in the entire class in terms of where he will be drafted versus, the risk that you run with him. But he also has a huge boom potential. At number 21, the Steelers go Derek Harmon. Honestly, I'm not the biggest Derek Harmon guy, and I've been rooting for this guy since Michigan State. It's gotten to the point where a player that I love is being overhyped as all get out. He has long arms, cool. But he is somebody who is a round 3 type of D tackle. I'll say it. Like, he's a good player. He's young. He has good arm length. He's a good tester. But when you watch him on the field, the consistency is a big worry. And will this potentially work out for the Steelers? Yes. I honestly think it will end up being perfectly fine. It will be another pick where I'm like, all right, this is a B. I mean, like, we need a D tackle. He's young. He has all the tools, and we have the mentorship. It will work. But I just think there's so many better routes to go, especially with how good this defensive interior class is for the Steelers. I just personally would not go said route. At number 22, the Chargers go Matt Golden. I think this is a perfect move. You need a deep threat, and you have him with Ladd McConkey, who is a super stud. I think it's going to be incredible. That would be a really, really good combination. Emeka Egbuka goes to the Packers. This is a really good pickup for the Packers, especially with the injury of Christian Watson. And then, I mean, you also talk about injury concerns here. And on top of that, like, the contracts are coming due. And these wide receiver 2 contracts, all of a sudden, T. Higgins is getting paid like a wide receiver 1 when he is a guaranteed wide receiver 2 on a team. So I'll just say the Packers need to start prioritizing wide receiver. You have a bunch of wide receiver 2s. And on top of that, I don't know if Emeka guarantees himself as a wide receiver 1. Maybe he'll be another wide receiver 2 for you. But these guys are getting really freaking pricey. They're getting very pricey. And so you need to save some cash. And Emeka Egbuka would be a great step towards being able to build a more balanced wide receiver core in terms of budget as well as talent. Vikings go Jahdae Barron at 24. Again, 5'3" in attitude. Like, you pretty much have nothing of height on your corner core. To be fair, I think you guys just got Jeff Okudah. That's fun. That's fine. I mean, that's a really good corner 3 to have when you have Murphy, Rodgers, and Barron, and then you end up having him on there as well. But you really are lacking a lot of height, and I do worry that, you know, you're talking about guys like Rome Odunze who have some height to them. Like, I do worry that you're going to be losing a bit more of the contested catch situation than what is said, or like what you guys might believe when you have these players. But Jahdae Barron fits a Byron Murphy system. Like, he is, I think that's a good comp for him, is Byron Murphy. At number 25, we have the Houston Texans going Josh Simmons. I love it. You know, you're pretty much buying low on a player whose ceiling is sky high. You can play him at guard if you need to. I said, like, blue chip tackle, Hall of Fame guard potential. Like, I do think that of Josh Simmons. I love him to death. And, you know, it sucks he got injured, but, you know, the tape that he put out this year was, you know, legitimately worth taking at number 1 overall. The Rams then go Azareye'h Thomas at 26. It's a very Rams move. You continue going to Florida State. It hasn't failed them yet, and Azareye'h Thomas, I don't think, would either. A big boundary corner that is a really, really good tester. At 27, the Ravens go Malachi Starks, 3 safety system. They do need it. And then, I mean, Nicky Manwari would have been crazy in this system, but you allow Kyle Hamilton and Malachi Starks to pretty much do whatever they want, and you're going to have a lot of success there. And I mean a lot of it. You got Ardarius Washington. I think he's an RFA, but, you know, you should bring him back anyway. The Lions then go James Pierce at 28. You know, there's definitely some off-the-field concerns there. Apparently, the coaches are, like, relieved for him to be gone. Whenever you hear the term coaching character concern, they drop out of the first. Last year, we all thought Jerzon Johnny Newton should be a top 15 to top 20 player. He ended up falling out of the first and ended up going to a team that ended up, you know, ending up getting rid and releasing one of their top D tackles. And we're like, whoa, they took him on top of the 2 they have. So, you know, it ended up working out, right? And maybe it'll do the same here with James Pierce. So we'll see what happens. You know, the Lions have done a very good job mitigating the risk because they're having Hutchinson come back, but they also have Davenport on a 1-year deal. So James Pierce doesn't need to produce off the bat. But I think it will end up working out. I think Pierce's most likely destination is here to the Commanders because, again, it's a team that said, we see that he has some concerns, but I think that we can get through to him. But regardless, the Commanders take Max Hairston at 29. I know Mel's super high on Max Hairston. I don't think that's going to talk in here about it, but you guys, I've been saying this, and I will, if I know anything about off the field stuff, I will let you guys know. It's not your job to, you know, lurk on Twitter all the time, or, you know, for that matter, like lurk pretty much trying to find news on these players' backgrounds. And you guys do a great job helping me out also with the background, because you guys ended up tagging me in this, and I ended up doing my own research on it, and it's concerning. But Max Hairston, March 25th on 2021, you can look at the University of Kentucky crime log. There's an open, not closed, open sexual assault case, and the girl who did it has posted a lot of content about it dating back into like 2022, 2021. And it's reported. Like, it's not like she's just saying this out of the blue. Like, it is reported. So you can do your own research. Please feel free to go do that. But for me, when I see that, I don't care how, like, he looks like a sweet dude. Like, you know, he has a nice smile. Like, he's vibing, I think, on Kay Adams' show. Like, that's awesome. And he tested out really, really well. But when I see stuff like that, you know, I have sisters, I have nieces and stuff. Like, I don't fuck around with dudes like that. If you're going to do shit like that, you're off my board. I don't care if you're the best player in history. If you're a piece of shit who's willing to, you know, literally assault a woman in that manner, hate to say it, you're a piece of shit. It doesn't matter what you do for the rest of your life. Like, if you do something like that and take advantage of somebody, I don't care if there's 4 years. Some people do care. Some people don't. And so, those 4 years, at least there wasn't anything else. But the fact is, the case hasn't even been closed. The girl still apparently hasn't gotten justice. So for me, I'm very heavily against Max Hairston. The talent on the field's awesome, but this is a multi-billion-dollar organization. We're talking about corporate America here that just has something that we end up watching as their product. Like, this is a corporation. This is an employee of the corporation, and that's why players like this sometimes do fall. So that's why I'm gonna be against it. I had my crash out. I'm a little cranky. I'm on short hours of sleep, but I don't mess with dudes who end up doing stuff like that. So, I mean, feel free. If you don't care about that to that degree, because, hey, football is football, that's, outside of it. Again, we'll disagree. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but we'll disagree, because I do think that it's a little bit more than just a game. But the Bills end up going Kenneth Grant at 30. You can't risk him going to the Eagles or to the Chiefs. I think this is like a necessity if he ends up slipping here. Great ceiling, pretty low floor in my opinion, because I do think he's a lot more inefficient than people give him credit for. But feel free to check out my defensive interior video for that. You got the Chiefs then going Kelvin Banks. I find it very hard for Kelvin Banks to get to this point, because he measured out 6'5" with solid arm length. Like, one of the very few that actually did it. But Kelvin Banks slips here, and we'll see if that ends up coming to fruition. But if the Chiefs can end up landing Kelvin Banks, and I have my notorious negative outlook towards Kelvin Banks, but I also understand this is a massive upgrade for the Chiefs, like a massive upgrade. So it would be a great pick if they were able to do that. And then the Eagles go Walter Nolan at 32. It's been talked about having some maturity issues. I mean, talk about a team not really caring about off the field issues. I mean, granted, Howie ended up going on Adam Schefter's podcast saying we will never even put someone on our board if they have abuse versus women on their record. So you can kiss goodbye Max Hairston in that one, and probably Mike Green as well, but Mike Green won't even be there. Regardless, Walter Nolan, the Eagles literally moved up a spot to take someone who many people were questioning whether they would even be able to play in the NFL because of some car racing incident in in Jalen Carter. So I will just say, the Eagles tend to make it work, and you have some really good mentorship there. It sucks. I think BG should try to take, I'm trying to remember, I think Jason Peters right now is doing some type of mentorship role for the Seattle Seahawks. I would love to see BG do the same, where he's hanging out in the locker room, being a mentor for the guys there on the D line, basically being an assistant quality control coach for the defensive line. And I would love that. And then you take on the potential Walter Nolan, who fits perfectly in Milton Williams' role. I think that you could have fireworks. So that's where I'm going to leave it right there. Honestly, it's a good fit. I think it's a good player. And, you guys have so far had 4 confirmed top 30 visits, all of them linemen. Granted, all of them late day 2, early day 3 from, or the last 2 I remember in Marcus Bowe, friend of the show, as well as Jalen Travis. That's their projected range. So we'll see what happens there. But regardless, 4 offensive linemen within the first 4 top 30 visits that are confirmed. Interesting. But we'll see what happens there. Regardless, thank you so much for spending the time and hanging out with me. Love you. See you on the far side. Peace.